Hello my friends, and welcome to Neville and Chat. Here, as you know, we talk everything about Neville and his teachings, the law, and how can this law improve your life and change your life and create a different life that you have. Today I want to speak with you or talk about attention. Why is it important and how does it relate and manifest in your life? And also I want to talk about some things that I have experienced today and how I helped myself and how I reacted differently than usually or different than in the past, and I think that it will be useful to you as well. But before that, let's read a quote from Neville. The quote is from his speech Persistent Assumption, and from 1968, and it also talks about trust, but let's read it together. So, I'm not speaking to another being, because there is no other being. I'm not asking anyone in this world to do it. I'm trying to persuade myself of the reality of what I'm trying to feel. So if it takes me a day or a week to be self-persuaded, so what? When I am self-persuaded so that I have a certain feeling of certainty, then I know the truth of what I have done, and then it objectifies itself. When it objectifies itself, then to whom can I turn? May I tell you, in the end, it is a healthy feeling and yet a peculiar feeling. As my wife said to me one day, you know, the trouble with you is you can't ask anyone for help. You can't ask anyone. I said, no, I can't turn to anyone in this world to ask them to help me. If I go at this very moment, I go this moment, but I can't turn to another because there is no other. That's years ago when she said that to me, when suddenly you go into a slump and you feel in a strange way. She said, your problem is you can't trust anyone but yourself. Well, she said it and she meant it. May I tell you, she's right. I can't turn to another. Because if God is my own wonderful human imagination and there is only God, that great confession of faith, the Shema, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Then how can I turn to another? And so, before I could turn to another, then let me drop, because I cannot worship another. Another would be two gods, a false god, and I cannot do it. Okay, that was just beautiful. And it comes to mind, you know, when I'm thinking about something that I want. Let's say that I would like to have X. And then, as for the usual way of thinking, I would start to think, who can help me? Where can I turn? What can I do? And that's wrong. That has never brought me the right answers. So I start to think differently. I start to go in myself, within, and I start to feel as already having that or already doing it. And if, for example, I have the CEO and I want to have something, then I imagine myself being congratulated and having that which I assumed it to be. Okay? Then another thing is that we think conventionally, that we have to progress. And I think that Neville is right. The only thing that is stopping you from being that what you want to be or inhabit or express, it's your stubborn belief that you are not that which you want to express. That's a peculiar feeling, you know. It's not easy to grasp that idea and to having it in your mind. So now I'm going differently, you know. Before I go to a person in person, I go to them in my imagination because there is no other. And why should I ask another for help if everything is one and I can actually ask the person from my imagination, you know? So that's very interesting to me how I changed. Maybe somebody will say that I became more passive in my approach, but being like this, I'm much happier because I'm actually feeling on the right path, you know. I have tried doing some channels on YouTube talking about other stuff that is interesting to me, for example, like psychology, psychotherapy and all that stuff. But in the end, you know, it didn't feel right, you know. It was like feeling a patch, you know, a patch on instead of the cure, a patch to move through. But coming to Neville, I feel like I found what I was searching for. And when I read it, you know, for example, when I read psychological texts, I always thought, okay, that's interesting, okay, that's interesting, okay, great, interesting, you know. But with Neville and his words is a different kind, you know. I feel moved. I feel moved in the inside. I feel moved by his words. Those words have the power to move. And I remember in the morning, I think I talked already about that, but I fell down and I asked for the answer. And now I can't remember the answer, but I will go check. I have a spreadsheet where I put down everything interesting that is happening in my life. So I will read it now. Okay, clearly now I can't find it, but I remember it, you know. It was like really the answer came, you know, and at that moment I felt the answer. So whenever I feel down, I just go into my imagination, you know. And right now at this moment I feel much better than in the morning, you know. I'm recording this at evening, and in the morning I didn't feel as good as now. So it's, to me, it's interesting. And one of the things, you know, I like a girl, and I'm looking at her, and I tried to communicate with her, and we had just a cordial, you know, chit chat, etc. But she's friend with one of my ex, so this other girl doesn't know me like in person. So, and but hey, we are friends on Facebook or nothing important. And today I saw her with a guy, you know, and I said, what? To me, you know, on the outside, she's like an 8 or 9 on the scale, you know, if we had to put a scale. So to me, she's very, very, very beautiful. And I saw her, you know, she's with a guy, like if I had to put on the scale, you know, it's like a tree, you know, like, I don't know. not attractive at all, you know, not the kind of attractive guy. I don't know, but you know. And then I felt hurt, you know. I said, "Oh my God, why can't I have her?" You know. I started to ruminating, and then I stopped. I said, "Look, if I truly want her, you know, I can have her in my imagination, and from my imagination, it will come on the outside, you know. So it's up to me. It's not up to my actions, but it's actually to my imaginal actions, not the actions in my physical world, because I contacted her, I talked with her, etc. Okay, I didn't clearly state my intentions, but you know, I have to say that in my imagination first, because that's where the world gets created. And you know me, I'm a logical guy, so a lot of the times, you know, I have to have a clear logical way of this stuff working out, you know. So but it reassures me that like I listened to a video today about our brain being the same as the universe, you know, like the official quotation marks science telling us that the brain is a similar or structured the same way as the galaxies, and that the universe is actually a living being. And that made me think, you know, about what we talk about, the phrase from Jesus Christ when he says, "I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I." And when you say that, you feel, when you go into the meditation of Neville, when he says, "I am, I am, I am, I am," maybe I should do that. And when I do that I am, I really, it happens the same as Neville stated, that I start to float. You know, it's like a feeling of floating, like a feeling of detachment. It is interesting. And when I say I and my Father are one, I really feel a power, something backing this statement, something backing me up. So I think it's, you could say, like from a science point of view, like the big universe, the big brain, and the small universe, the small brain. So everything, it's up to us. And as I talked before in the morning, even though this video will be, I think, 2 days, published 2 days later, when I think about that in the morning, when I think about what I was talking in the morning, you know, it is interesting, you know, how this changing of our reality should not be easy, because then there would be chaos and flying things all around, you know, and catastrophes. Still, there are catastrophes, but there, I think, would be much more. And so, when I think about that, it has to be a sort of power hidden in us, but hidden like a master, you know, like of moving, you know. We had to learn how to walk, and maybe this is something similar, that we have to learn to stay in the feeling. I'm noticing, for example, that I just fall back into the energy or the archetype of the thing that I am imagining. When I'm imagining, you know, I just fall back into it. And it is an interesting feeling, my friends. It truly is an interesting feeling. Okay, I'm just in the beginning of my journey, so I don't know if that is enough. I remember, I'm really committed to this science now for what is 30 days is 1 month, like 4 or 5 months now, and when I listen to Edward Art, the last time he said that, just take this idea and ponder upon it for 1 month or two. For me, I am very, very impatient. Okay, I can assume that I'm not impatient, but uh, that's what I used to be. So this is something that I have to learn to do. So another thing that happened today is that when that situation with that girl happened, I said that to myself, no, I will give myself big love, the most love that I can possibly give to myself. And that snapped me out of the situation in a moment. And that, I think, is a beautiful thing to experience, to snap out of it. And lastly, I want to talk with you about our attention. And so, when I was thinking and looking at her and other girls on Facebook, I thought about, oh my God, where am I putting my attention? Attention, our attention, is the most valuable thing to us. Because attention, in a way, is imagination. We place our attention somewhere, and there our imagination goes and tells what it is. I'm seeing that girl with a strange guy, and I said, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Why can't she choose me? Why should she be with, like, I'm thinking maybe she's punishing someone, or she has some really deep issues, And then I'm thinking, that's the wrong way of looking at things, I'm giving there my attention. That's the wrong way to put my attention. My attention should be put in my imagination, not on the outside, but on the inside. That's where the change happens. And so everyone is trying to get our attention. They're trying to get it from the left, from the right, from the above, from below. Everywhere they're trying to get our attention. And so, if everyone wants our attention, if everyone wants our belief, then it probably is something valuable, something very valuable. Our states, they put us in schools where we learn stuff, and they're training us to be part of the society that someone else has imagined for us. So that's interesting to me, how we're using our attention and our imagination. And I am very interested to see where this path will lead me. I mean, I have never been so committed with my heart to a thing in my life. And so, if we look and let's read another quote. I read it from Goodreads, so it's like no specific order, and usually see that's always something very useful for us. And this quote is from Your Faith is Your Fortune. Your consciousness is the only living reality. the eternal head of creation. So our consciousness, our attention, our imagination creates. That which you are conscious of being is the temporal body that you wear. To turn your attention from that which you are aware of being is to decapitate the body, but just as a chicken or snake continues to jump and drop for a while after its head has been removed, likewise, qualities and conditions appear to live for a while after your attention has been taken from them. So here we are talking about the temporal effect and when it's going to happen, But I believe that you will start to feel different when you start actually applying the law, doing the law, I have some specific things that I do and I'm testing out, and I will talk about that in the future, depending on how they will turn out to work. Okay. Then we have a quote from Feeling is the Secret, and it's a very beautiful and moving quote. Think about that. Look, or listen. Never go to sleep feeling discouraged or dissatisfied. Never sleep in the consciousness of failure. So to turn that around, let's see. He says, never go to sleep feeling discouraged or dissatisfied. So if we turn that around, we can say always go to sleep feeling empowered or encouraged and satisfied. Never sleep in the consciousness of failure. So always sleep in the consciousness of winning. Isn't that great? I mean, it could be said that's just it's just like self-evident, that we should sleep in that, but that's actually not. We are actually always we are thinking about problems and solutions and problems and solution and what's how can we survive another day and blah blah. But no, the answer is different. It's to always go to sleep feeling encouraged and satisfied. Never sleep in the consciousness of failure. So always sleep in the consciousness of winning. And now, before the last quote for today, I want to give my blessing, a blessing to you, to everyone that is listening to this, a blessing to us, to the world, to me, to our wishes, to our commands, because we command things into appearing. Yes, this is a power. This gives you power. This gives you confidence. This gives you life. You actually start to live your life. You stop to just exist. You start to live. And before we go into the silence, listen. Feeling a state produces the state. So feeling a state produces the state. So to feel the state of health, wealth, freedom produces the state of wealth, health, freedom. Okay? With that, I leave you until next time, and I'm wishing you all my best.